Republican House Judiciary Committee members held a press conference to discuss stricter guidelines for name, image, and likeness for college athletes.
These lawmakers say they want athletes in the Big Ten to have equal opportunities.
WMTV's Cameron Kelly joins us in studio. Cameron, before that news conference, lawmakers talked with athletes and athletic directors.
That's right. They explained it is important to hear testimonials to ensure fairness. It provided a deeper dive into the legal challenges that are shaping the NCAA. The 6 leaders shared their working with people across different organizations, conferences, and sports. Without action from lawmakers, rules governing college sports such as NIL, roster caps, and transfers will be sharpened or shaped in court. In 2021, the NCAA approved NIL, allowing college athletes to make money off their names.
Discussion and how far in depth we got into some of those things. They're all familiar issues, but I think we still need to be methodical, kind of continue to take testimony, have public forums that will allow us to get feedback.
Another representative wants to ensure student athletes are also taking advantage of their education.
They are here for education. We need to make sure that we uphold that integrity of the educational institution and not forget that as we go through this whole process.
I also reached out to UW Athletics and Varsity Collective, who provides NIL opportunities, for comment, and I have not heard back from them. Live in the studio, Cameron Kelly, WMTV 15 News.
Cameron, thank you. The committee says the next step is to explore potential solutions to preserve the future of college athletics.